Welcome, dear viewers. Sit back, relax, and sip your coffee. I never expected my dream job would lead me to a place like this, where silence stretches longer than the horizon, and even the wind feels like it's watching. When I accepted a teaching job in the quiet town of Ashford Hollow, I thought I was escaping the chaos of the city. But what I found wasn't peace, it was rules. 7 of them. Given to me by the locals, whispered like warnings. I thought they were quirky traditions. I was wrong. I should have listened. I arrived in Ashford Hollow on a mist-heavy Monday in late August. The kind of morning where the sky hangs low, heavy with secrets. My car rumbled up the gravel road leading into town, the tires crunching like old bones beneath me. The GPS had given up miles ago. There was no cell service. Only trees, towering, twisted things that closed in the further I drove. The first sign of life was the town's welcome board, tilted and faded. Welcome to Ashford Hollow, population 312. Someone had scratched the number out. Beneath it, in shaky red paint, someone had scrawled, "Don't stay after dark." I should have turned around. But after 3 years of substitute work and rejection emails, this job was a lifeline. A full-time English teacher position with housing provided. It sounded perfect. The school building was an aging red brick relic from another era. 2 stories tall, flanked by empty flagpoles and a yard with crooked jungle gyms. A heavy stillness hung over everything, the way it does in places that are more memory than motion. I met Principal Hargrove at the entrance. He was a thin, gray-haired man in his 60s with eyes that looked like they hadn't blinked in hours. His handshake was limp, but his grip lingered too long. "Miss Tolland," he said. "We're glad to have you. Not many stick around here." "Is it the pay?" I joked, trying to lighten the mood. He didn't smile. "No. It's the rules." Before I could ask, he turned and pushed the doors open. The hallways were lined with faded class photos. Some frames were missing. Some had faces scratched out. My footsteps echoed too loudly. We passed by classrooms. Silent. Empty. "School's not in yet," he said. "You'll meet your students tomorrow. But before that, there's something you need to see." He led me to a small office in the back, where the blinds were always shut and the air smelled faintly of something metallic. A single sheet of paper lay on the desk, weighed down by an old rotary phone. "The rules of Ashford Hollow School. Follow these or you won't last long. Never be inside the school after 7:13 p.m. Ever. If you hear footsteps in the ceiling during class, don't look up. Keep teaching. One of your students will not appear on the roster. Do not speak to them. Every Thursday, someone will knock on your classroom door 3 times. Don't answer. Avoid room 2B. Even if it's open. Especially if it's open. If a student says they forgot their skin today, send them to the nurse. Lock the door behind them. If you hear the bell ring more than once at the end of the day, run. Do not look back." My first instinct was to laugh, but Hargrove's face was stone. "Local folklore?" I asked. "They're not a joke," he said. "They're protection. Everyone in town knows them." I scanned the list again, unease prickling beneath my skin. "Have teachers been hurt?" He didn't answer. Just stared at me with that same unblinking gaze. That night, I settled into the small faculty apartment attached to the back of the school. It was clean though sterile. A twin bed. A desk. One window nailed shut. The silence outside felt unnatural. Like the town itself was holding its breath. I unpacked quickly, tried to shake the sense that I was being watched. At dinner, a woman from the general store brought me a casserole. Her hands shook when she handed it to me. "Remember the rules?" she whispered. "Especially the first one." I ate alone, staring at the rules taped to my fridge. I told myself it was all small-town superstition. Probably a way to haze the new teacher. But deep down, something festered. A cold knot in my stomach. The next morning I met my class. 17 students. All quiet. All watching. They introduced themselves with the polite stiffness of rehearsed lines. But one child, Emily, stood out. She had jet black hair, cut unevenly at the shoulders, and eyes far too old for her face. She didn't speak when I called her name. Just smiled slowly. There was something off about her. That's when I noticed her name wasn't on the roster. I hesitated. Rule number 3. I moved on. The day passed slowly. I kept the lesson light, just a reading exercise. The kids followed along perfectly, like they already knew what I was going to say. The room was too quiet. No whispers. No fidgeting. Just stillness. Near the end of the day, the overhead speaker crackled. The final bell rang once, sharp and shrill. The children stood in unison, not looking at me, and filed out silently. I sat at my desk, exhaling for the first time in what felt like hours. Then the bell rang again. A second time. My heart seized. Rule number 7. If you hear the bell ring more than once at the end of the day, run. Do not look back. I stood frozen. The hallway lights flickered. I grabbed my bag and bolted out of the room, my shoes squealing on the polished floors. Behind me I heard something dragging. Something wet. I didn't look back. I reached the faculty apartment door and slammed it behind me, chest heaving. For a long time I didn't move. Just listened. Silence returned. But I never heard any of the other teachers leave. In fact, I hadn't seen any of them all day. That night I couldn't sleep. The school creaked and groaned like it was alive. Sometime around 2 a.m. I heard whispers. Soft, like children murmuring secrets through the walls. I pressed my ear to the plaster. Nothing. When I pulled back, my breath caught in my throat. There were handprints on the wall. Small, faint, and too high to be from any child. The next day, Principal Hargrove asked how my first day went. I told him about the double bell. His jaw tightened. You made it out? Barely. What happens if I don't? He didn't answer right away. Just reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. He slid it toward me. Inside were newspaper clippings. Yellowed. Local teacher vanishes without a trace. Last seen at Ashford Hollow School. Authorities baffled by disappearances. No signs of forced entry. Ashford Hollow principal declines to comment. The photos told a chilling story. Smiling faces, young teachers, vanishing year after year. He closed the folder. That's why we have the rules. I left his office trembling. That Thursday I made sure to stay alert. The rules echoed in my head all day. Especially rule number 4. Every Thursday someone will knock on your classroom door 3 times. Don't answer. It was just before lunch when I heard it. Knock. 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 3 precise raps. Sure. Hollow. The students froze. I stood behind my desk, heart thudding. My eyes locked on the door. The handle turned slightly, then stopped. Another knock. Just 3 again. I said nothing. Did nothing. Eventually the knocking ceased. But on the floor beneath the doorframe I noticed something. A thin trail of mud, leading away from the classroom. And in it, a single bare footprint. Much too large for a child. By the end of my first week, I had followed every rule. Barely. But the town was changing. Or maybe I was. I started noticing things. How the townspeople avoided the school. How no one ever entered the woods that bordered the playground. How the same 17 students were in every photo from the last 5 years. And Emily, the silent girl with the crooked smile, was in every one of them. Uniged. Unchanged. I took this job for a fresh start. But Ashford Hollow isn't the kind of place you leave. It's the kind of place that swallows you, slowly, with rules to guide the feast. And now I fear the rules aren't just for the school. They're for me. I thought following the rules would keep me safe. That if I just did what they said I could survive. But the rules weren't protection, they were warnings. And now I'm starting to think they don't just apply to the school. Because last night I heard Emily whispering through my walls. And she said something that chills me to my core. Don't go near room 2B, unless it calls your name. I wish I'd listened. The second week at Ashford Hollow began with thick fog rolling in from the woods. It curled around the school like smoke, clinging to the windows and muting all sound. When I woke, my breath frosted in the air. The heating was off again. I pulled on my coat and stepped into the hallway. No one else was around, not even Principal Hargrove. It was Monday, but the building felt abandoned. The silence was heavier than usual. I made it to my classroom and the students filed in with robotic precision. Same 17 faces. Same expressions. Except Emily wasn't among them. I checked the door. Nothing. No knocks. No footsteps. Just a flickering overhead light and the soft rustle of notebook pages. Midway through our lesson on Macbeth, the ceiling above me creaked. Then something scratched. Long, slow drags like claws. The sound moved above us, following the length of the room. Every student froze, eyes locked on their desks. Rule number 2. If you hear footsteps in the ceiling during class, don't look up. Keep teaching. My mouth went dry. I forced myself to keep reading. By the pricking of my thumbs. The scratching grew louder. Something wicked this way comes. The ceiling thudded, once violently and then went still. I didn't breathe until the bell rang. Only once. I found Principal Hargrove later in the hallway. He was staring at a wall where the paint had begun to bubble and peel. Emily didn't come to class, I told him. He didn't look at me. Sometimes she doesn't. She's not on the roster. Who is she? That made him turn. His face was pale, eyes sunken. You saw her again? Yes. And she spoke to me. Last night through my wall. He closed his eyes. That's not possible. Why not? He hesitated, then said, because Emily Hollow died in 1956. The floor seemed to drop beneath me. What? She was a student here. Bright, quiet, always kept to herself. One night, she stayed late for detention. She went into room 2B and never came out. I didn't sleep that night. Not just because of what he told me, but because at exactly 2:13 a.m., I woke to a soft sound. Whispering. Coming from the hallway outside my apartment. I sat up, heart pounding. Pressed my ear to the door. Come to class, room 2B. Emily's voice. Small. Echoing. Not from a throat, but from somewhere deeper, like it had to claw its way into the world. I stepped back and stared at the door. The whispering stopped. And then a knock. Just one. I didn't open it. But I stood there until morning, the rules turning over and over in my head. Tuesday passed in a blur. The students were more lifeless than usual, like puppets drained of string. Their eyes had lost the pretense of curiosity. They just stared. And still, no Emily. That afternoon, I asked the librarian, Mrs. Doyle, about room 2B. Her hand trembled as she stamped books. No one uses it. Locked for decades. Why? She leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. They say the room was built wrong. That the blueprints didn't match what was actually constructed. Too many windows inside, none from the outside. An extra wall that didn't show up on plans. Like it was always waiting. Waiting for what? Her eyes darted around. A door. That evening I decided to see it for myself. The sun dipped low, casting long blood-orange shadows across the halls. I walked slowly toward the east wing. The part of the school no one ever spoke about. The air grew colder with every step. Lights flickered as I passed beneath them. My breath fogged. I reached the door. Room 2B. There was no handle. No lock. Just the bare outline of a door etched into wood that looked too old for the building. Faint scratch marks marred the bottom. Some were long and deliberate. Others, frantic. I reached out, hesitated, then touched it. The door was warm. And then, as if reacting to my presence, it opened inward with a slow, painful groan. My stomach turned. Inside, the room was coated in dust. Desks stood at unnatural angles as if frozen mid-chaos. The walls were papered with old student essays. They fluttered slightly despite there being no wind. At the far end of the room was a window, but not to the outside. It looked into something else. A hallway? A black void. I couldn't tell. It pulsed faintly like it breathed. I took one step in. The door slammed shut behind me. I turned, heart hammering, and grabbed the knob. There wasn't one. I was sealed in. The air thickened. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. From the corner of the room came a giggle. Childlike. Echoing. Then the sound of feet, tiny bare feet, scampering across the ceiling. Emily? I called against every better instinct. The lights buzzed, then went out. Darkness swallowed everything. And then, a voice. You looked. You opened the door. Now I can too. The floor beneath me cracked. Not in sound but texture. Like it was peeling away from reality. I screamed, pounded on the door, begged to be let out. Suddenly, blinding light. The door burst open and Principal Hargrove yanked me through. He slammed it behind me and whispered a prayer I didn't understand. You went inside, he hissed, backing away from the door. You weren't supposed to go near it. That room listens. It waits. It chooses. I heard her voice, she called me, I gasped. She always does, he said. To the ones who break the rules. But I followed them. His eyes darkened. Then you must have missed something. That night, I tore the rules from my fridge and read them again over and over. 7 of them. All terrifying. All vague. But none of them said anything about hearing your name. And that's what Emily did. She whispered my name. I called my sister that night. Told her I was thinking of leaving. But when I picked up my phone, it was already dialing. The contact read, Emily, unknown number. I dropped it. Stared at the screen as it continued ringing. Until it stopped. And a voice whispered through the speaker. Rule 8, once chosen you can't leave. There was never just 7. And maybe the worst part isn't the rules themselves. It's that they keep changing. I thought there were only 7 rules. 7 simple ways to stay alive. But I was wrong. There's an 8th rule. One they never told me. One they couldn't write down. And when I broke it, I saw the truth behind this town. Behind Emily. behind everything. And now I'm not just in danger, I'm trapped. Because Ashford Hollow doesn't let go. Body. The phone never rang again. After that whisper, Rule 8, once chosen you can't leave. I turned it off and threw it into a drawer. But I swear I still hear it buzz every night. Like Emily is trying to call through the dark. I didn't go to work the next morning. I told myself I was sick. But truthfully I was scared. Not just of the school or the rules, but of what might happen if I showed up again. By 10 a.m. someone knocked on my apartment door. Principal Hargrove. He didn't ask how I was feeling. Didn't even look surprised. You can't skip days, he said flatly. I need time, I told him. I need answers. What is this place? What happened to Emily? He stared at me for a long time. Then said, come with me. He drove us north into the woods just past the school. The fog was thick. The road barely visible. Eventually, we pulled into a clearing surrounded by crooked trees and moss-covered stones. In the center stood a decaying building, smaller than the school but built in the same style. This was the original Ashford Hollow schoolhouse, he said. Inside, everything reeked of mildew and forgotten time. Rotting desks, cobwebs. A bell cracked in half. He pointed to the far wall where faded portraits hung. Black and white photos of students from the 1950s. I spotted her immediately. Emily Hollow. She looked exactly as she does now. Same dress. Same wide, glassy eyes. But in the photo she was smiling. She disappeared here? I asked. He shook his head. She was taken here. But it didn't start with her. He handed me a leather-bound book, thin, frayed at the edges. A ledger. Names filled the pages. All students. All with dates beside them. Most had a second date. A death. But some, like Emily, had only one. What is this? He closed the book. A record of the chosen. On the way back I asked why I was hired. Why bring in outsiders? He didn't answer at first. Then he said, we can't choose who it wants. What do you mean? The town. The school. That room. They all want something. They always have. It used to be students. Then it began taking teachers. But only the ones who get noticed. By what? You already know. He dropped me off without another word. That night the dreams came. Not nightmares. Memories I didn't recognize. I was standing in room 2B. But the room was alive. Breathing. Walls pulsing like flesh. Shadows crawled along the floor. And in the far corner stood Emily, but not the version I'd seen before. She was older. Taller. Her face cracked like porcelain. And behind her, something moved. Too tall. Too thin. A shape that bent the light. She pointed at me and said, you broke the unwritten rule. I tried to speak but my mouth wouldn't open. And then the shape behind her stepped forward. Its face was stitched closed. I woke screaming. I returned to school the next day. The students were waiting, staring as always. But this time something was off. One student, Liam, a quiet boy in the back, had a nosebleed. Not a normal one. It wasn't dripping. It was pouring. I ran over with tissues but he didn't react. His eyes rolled back. His lips moved. He whispered, it's almost open. Then collapsed. Principal Hargrove came in moments later as if he'd known. 2 older men in gray coats followed him. They took Liam away without a word. None of the students said anything. When I asked where they were taking him, Hargrove said, he's not going home. Not yet. That afternoon I found a note on my desk. No envelope. No name. Just 4 words scribbled in sharp black ink. Do not trust Hargrove. I searched the halls, asked the students, but no one admitted to leaving it. That night I returned to the old schoolhouse alone. I needed more answers. But when I arrived, it was burning. The fire raged silently with no smoke, just white-hot light that lit the trees in flickering horror. Standing in front of it was a woman I'd never seen before. She wore a tattered school uniform and held something in her hands. The same ledger Hargrove had shown me. I stepped forward. Emily? She looked up. Her eyes were bleeding. You can't fix this, she whispered. Only feed it. What are you talking about? She held out the ledger. You're next. But you don't have to be. Then help me stop it. She opened the book and pointed to the last page. My name. Already written. But below it, another rule. Rule number 9. When your name is written you have 3 days left. I stared at her. There were only 7. Then 8. She smiled sadly. There's always more. But never enough. Then she vanished into the fire. I ran back to town. Back to my apartment. The rules on my fridge were gone. In their place, a new list. Handwritten. Sloppy. In red. 1. Don't trust the principal. 2. Don't stay after sundown. 3. Don't speak to students outside of class. 4. Don't enter room 2B. 5. Don't acknowledge the voice in your walls. 6. Don't remove this list. 7. Don't read aloud from the ledger. 8. Don't leave the town. 9. Don't try to fight it. 10. 10 rules. And at the bottom, scrawled in the same red ink. 10. If you see yourself in the mirror, run. I stared into my bathroom mirror and blinked. My reflection didn't. Conclusion. The rules were never meant to keep me safe. They were warnings. A slow countdown. A ritual. Now I have 3 days. 3 days before I'm no longer me. Because something in this town wants to wear my skin. And I think it's already started. I thought I could run. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could fight it. But the rules weren't just warnings. They were instructions. The ledger is still writing names. And now I know who's next. It's not just me. It's everyone who's broken the rules. And I'm not the only one seeing things in the mirror. After the mirror incident, I refused to sleep. I sat on the floor of my apartment all night with every light on, clutching the ledger I'd managed to salvage from the fire. It had grown thicker. More pages. More names. I flipped through slowly. Some were faded. Forgotten. Others were fresh, bold strokes of ink, like they'd been written only minutes ago. Emily Hollow. John P. Mercer. Alyssa Graves. Liam Barnes. Then mine. Daniel Crow. And below that, new names were appearing letter by letter. I watched one form before my eyes. Sarah C. Morton. Ms. Morton. The art teacher. My hand shook. I ran to my window and looked out across the street. Her apartment light was on. Flickering. Something inside me screamed to move. The door to her unit was slightly open. I stepped inside, calling her name. No response. Canvases were torn from the walls. Paint spilled everywhere, but it wasn't just paint. Red. Dark. Dripping. The air stank of iron and something else. Something rotten. In the hallway mirror I saw it. Not Sarah. Not me. A third reflection. Its face was stretched. Skin waxy and cracked. Eyes too wide. Grinning without lips. It moved toward me, asterisk asterisk inside the mirror, asterisk asterisk faster than I could blink. I slammed the door shut and ran. At school the next day, Sarah's classroom was sealed with yellow tape. No one said anything. Not even the principal. The students were all wearing red ribbons on their shirts, except for one. Liam. He was back. But, not right. His skin was gray. Eyes glassy. He moved like a puppet. Too stiff. Too slow. I tried to speak to him in the hallway, but he only muttered something under his breath. The bell tolls for the hallowed. Then walked away. I waited until nightfall, then snuck back into room 2B. The same chill hit me when I opened the door. Inside the walls pulsed. The desks had shifted again. And on the chalkboard was a sentence written in jagged scrawl. Rule 11, do not bring light into the hollow. My flashlight flickered the second I read it. The room plunged into darkness. And then, I heard them. Footsteps. Hundreds of them. Small. Bare. Like children. Coming closer. I backed against the wall, clutching the flashlight as it blinked on and off. Then a voice, soft, whispering, right in my ear. You broke the circle. The floor beneath me cracked open. I fell, not far but enough to land hard on something not quite wood. The space below room 2B wasn't supposed to exist. It was a chamber. Lit by faint red candles. Walls covered in symbols. A pit in the center, filled with water so dark it reflected nothing. And standing on the opposite side, was Hargrove. But he looked different. Taller. His skin seemed thinner. Eyes hollow. You weren't supposed to find this, he said. I stared. What is this place? The origin. He stepped aside, revealing a child kneeling beside the pit. Emily. She wasn't crying. She was humming something low and melodic. Then she turned to me and said, you can end it, but you have to give something up. What? She pointed to the ledger in my hands. The name at the bottom. I flipped to the last page and saw one final name. Daniel Crow. But it was slowly being overwritten. Morphing. Becoming someone else. Aaron T. Crow. My younger brother. No. No, no, no. Emily nodded. It always takes more than it gives. I turned to Hargrove. You're part of this? His smile was pure rot. We all are. This town was founded on a pact. Every generation a teacher is chosen. A caretaker. A shepherd. And what happens when the shepherd refuses? The walls rumbled. The pit began to boil. Hargrove stepped forward, towering now, his limbs too long to be human. Then the hollow feeds on everyone. I ran, climbed out of the chamber, fled the school. As I crossed the parking lot, I heard the bell. The one that never rings at night. It tolled once, then again, 7 times. And as I reached my car, I saw the fog roll in again, thicker than before. I turned the key. The car wouldn't start. A shadow moved across the back seat. I turned slowly, but nothing was there. The radio crackled to life. No music. Just one word over and over. Choose. 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 I walked home. The fog followed. Back at the apartment, everything had changed. My walls were covered in chalky writing. Rules. New ones. Endless. Scribbled in circles. One written in fresh red ink, pulsed like a heartbeat. Rule 12, someone must take your place. Below it, a question. Do you love him enough to let him die? They knew about Aaron. About the only family I had left. The mirror in my bathroom had cracked itself down the middle. And in it, I saw not one me, but 2. One smiling, the other crying. I punched the glass. It shattered. The crying one stayed. I haven't slept in 48 hours. The ledger sits open beside me. I flipped to the final page. My name is still there. But I noticed something new. A blank line beneath it. Waiting. I think I understand now. They don't want me dead. They want me to choose who's next. Because that's how the hollow survives. Doesn't just take. It feeds on betrayal. And I have 1 day left. Conclusion. They told me there were 7 rules. Then 8. Then more. But the real rule was never written. The town survives when someone breaks. And I'm at the breaking point. Because I don't want to die. But I don't want to damn my brother either. So now I'm searching for another way. A loophole. Something older than the hollow itself. But if I can't find it before the final bell, then I have to choose. And I think it's already watching who I'll pick. They said I had one choice. Let myself die, or let someone else take my place. But they were wrong. There's a third option. And I found it. Now all I have to do is make it through one final night. The bell tolls at dawn. And if I fail, the town takes everyone. Body. It's 11:43 p.m. Fog presses against my windows like it's alive, swirling in spirals that form strange runes in the condensation. The rules are everywhere now, written on my ceiling, carved into my door frame, echoing in the pipes. I stare at the last page of the ledger. Still my name. Still that blank line beneath it. And I know, if I don't fill it before sunrise, the town will. I drove to the school one last time. The streets were empty, like the town was holding its breath. As I passed each house, lights blinked out behind me. One by one. Like dominoes. When I reached the school, the front doors were already open. Inside, the lights were off, but the hallways glowed with that faint, impossible red light. The one that doesn't cast shadows. Room 2B was waiting. I stepped inside, holding the ledger and a flashlight. The air was thick. So, on the chalkboard, a new message had appeared. To undo the pact, you must become the first name. The first name? I flipped to the front of the ledger. The very first entry. Thomas Hollow. 1822. Founder of the town. Father of Emily. I read the note scribbled beside his name. Offered his child to seal the veil. Suddenly it made sense. Emily wasn't just a ghost. She was a lock. A key. A sacrifice. And she never left, because the town wouldn't let her. Because Thomas Hollow trapped her soul to keep the veil between worlds shut. But now that veil was weakening. Behind me the chalk started moving. I turned slowly and saw the wall writing itself. Place the ledger in the pit. Offer the original name. The first sin. End it. I left room 2B and made my way back to the hidden chamber beneath the school. As I descended the stairs, I heard voices whispering my name from every direction. Some familiar, Emily, Liam, Ms. Morton. Others, ancient, cold. The pit was still there, churning black liquid that didn't reflect light. I held the ledger above it. Thomas Hollow, I whispered. The surface bubbled. Then hissed. I dropped the book into the center. Everything went still. Then, screaming. Not from me. Not from the children. From the walls. The ceiling cracked. The foundation trembled. The candles went out all at once. And from the pit, she rose. Emily. But not the ghost child I'd seen before. This was her, whole, alive, radiant and real. Her eyes filled with tears. You freed me, she whispered. She looked up. He's coming. A shadow burst from the pit, taller than the room, stitched with mouths, writhing with limbs. Thomas Hollow. What was left of him? Run! Emily screamed. But I didn't move. I stared the thing down. You built this curse, I shouted. You sealed her away. It roared. My ears bled. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I reached into my coat and pulled out the page I'd ripped from the ledger earlier. My name. And underneath it, I wrote his. Thomas Hollow. The moment the ink dried, the shadow shrieked and imploded in on itself. The candles reignited, this time white. The walls calmed. The pit closed. Emily smiled. You ended it, she said. You chose no one. No, I corrected. I chose the one who deserved it. The school was silent as I left. No whispers. No red lights. The fog was gone. The sun had just started to rise. I stepped outside and found Principal Hargrove waiting by my car. Only he wasn't hollow anymore. He looked tired. Human. It's over, I told him. He nodded once. You did what we couldn't. You knew. He looked at the rising sun. We always knew. But none of us had the strength to face him. We fed the town to keep ourselves safe. You broke the chain. Then why am I still here? He looked me dead in the eyes. Because the town's not done with you. I returned home and found the rules gone. The mirror was whole. No voices. No ledger. I took a breath for the first time in what felt like weeks. I called my brother Aaron. He answered on the second ring. His voice was the same. Alive. Untouched. We talked for hours. Cried. Laughed. I told him I'd be visiting soon. He said, good. I've missed you. Just before the call ended, he paused. By the way, he said, this might sound weird, but last night I had a dream. What kind of dream? There was this old school. And a girl with white eyes. She asked me if I wanted to be a teacher. My stomach turned cold. What did you say? I said no. But, she smiled anyway. Why? He hesitated. She said it didn't matter. That my name's already in the book. Conclusion. I burned the ledger. I freed the girl. I broke the pact. But the town doesn't forget. Ashford Hollow is a scar on the map. A curse passed down through names and rules and blood. And though I tried to stop it, some things don't end. They wait. Because the Hollow doesn't need a town anymore. It only needs a name. And my brother's is next. The rules are gone now. Burned into my memory. Carved into my skin. I broke every single one, and the town noticed. The ledger, the cursed book listing every teacher's name, still had mine at the top. Beneath it, a blank line. Someone had to die. And if I didn't choose, Ashford Hollow would choose for me. I returned to the school one final time. The red light had returned. Room 2B was wide open waiting. Inside, the chalkboard read, undo the pact. Offer the original name. I flipped to the first page of the ledger. Thomas Hollow. Founder of the town. Father of the girl they sacrificed, Emily. In the chamber beneath the school, the pit still churned, black, hungry. I dropped the ledger in, and whispered his name. That's when it rose, Thomas Hollow's shadow. A towering, howling creature stitched from mouths and memories. But I wasn't afraid. I'd saved a torn page from the ledger, my own name. And below it I wrote, Thomas Hollow. The ink bled and the monster screamed. Then silence. And from the ashes, Emily appeared. Free at last. You chose no one, she said. No, I whispered. I chose the one who deserved it. The town felt lighter, brighter. The curse broken. Or so I thought. That night I called my brother. He was safe, sound. But before he hung up, he said, had a weird dream. A girl in white asked if I wanted to teach. My blood ran cold. She said, my name's already in the book.